Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 38 of Shattered Image, and this one is titled Home. It was a relatively quiet ride back to your place, the only conversation being you giving directions as Aizawa drove along. It had been a good week now since you had been admitted to hospital, and you were surprised at just how busy it was in the outside world. There are so many cars, what the heck? You commented mildly as you looked out the window. Sero looked at you as you just idly watched out your window, and he smiled to himself. Yeah, this is a new chapter, he thought as he looked out his own window and rested his sturdy elbow on the windowsill of the car. I'm going to do it right this time. Around the final corner Aizawa drove, and you looked up ahead to your house as it came into view. Here, this one, you said as he pulled up out the front. Usually by now your anger would have been welling up inside you, ready to have a go at your dad again and pick up where you left off the last time you saw him, but this time it wasn't there. You wondered if it was because you had had a chance to get it out of your system earlier that day, or whether it was because you had your most trusted person beside you and also your homeroom teacher, who was starting to trust more due to him keeping his promises and also getting information about your quirk. Either way, having both of them there was definitely a help. Aizawa pulled the car to a stop and got out, and then waited for you and Sero to get out as well. Did you want to hold my hand? Sero offered. You looked at him. Sorry, I didn't mean for it to, as in, if you, he fumbled. No, you shook your head, but stay with me. Yeah, no, that's a given, he replied emphatically. You nodded and then glanced back to Aizawa, who was just standing there, bleary-eyed and dull, and you almost laughed at how obvious it was that he didn't want to have to be there, but was willing to put his needs aside to be there for you, and then you turned and pushed your hands into your pant pockets and walked up to the front door. Instead of knocking, you just pushed the door open and called out. I'm home, you shouted as you stepped in. Yen! Your mum gasped. She knew that you were coming home because Aizawa had messaged her to let her know, but your dad had been none the wiser. Ever since his encounter with Hawks that night, he had been thinking about you and had finally decided that he should come clean about his past at least. As soon as he heard your voice, he jumped up out of his chair in a panic, not knowing what to do. He watched as your mum came running and threw her arms around you, and then he saw a boy standing beside you and the boy talking to your mum, and there was just so much going on that he didn't know what to do. Honey, your mum called to him, looking at him while he stood there looking mildly terrified in the middle of the lounge room. Hey. You grunted at him. You're back, he finally said. If you had had fur, it would have been bristling by now, but you remained surprisingly calm and just looked at him before turning back to your mum. Mum, this is Sero. I have his jumper, you said. Oh, thank you so much for letting Yin use your jumper. She never takes it off, your mum gushed. Mum, stop, you mumbled with embarrassment. Oh, and Shota, your mum said with surprise when she saw him step in behind you all. Good afternoon, Mrs. Lynn. Good to see you, he said in a dead voice. Oh, likewise, she said with a smile. Please, all of you come in. I'll make a coffee, she said happily. Coffee, Aizawa said under his breath, and he sounded so low-key excited it almost made you laugh. Your dad still stood frozen in place as he watched you all walk into the kitchen and then swallowed thickly and followed suit, tail tucked metaphorically between his legs. Things didn't feel too bad between you and your mum. She was an ever-forgiving person, so after a few seconds of feeling her out, you determined that she had forgiven you for what you had said to her in the hospital and had moved on and was just happy to have you home again. She was acting her usual self, but your dad was very quiet and you knew he still hadn't let things go from before. Figures, you thought. I'm the same and we're family, so it makes sense that he would be uptight still too. Your mum was making such a fuss over Sero, though, that it was overshadowing everything else that you were feeling towards your dad, and you had to stay on your toes and stay focused to stop your mum from spilling too many of your childhood secrets to Sero, who seemed only too pleased to be getting as much information about your past as possible. So it sounds like you've always been daring, Sero mused when your mum had told him the story about how you'd thrown yourself off the roof of their holiday house one time and landed in the lake. I knew I could make it, you replied with an almost pout. Well, now you need to tell me a story about you when you were a kid, so it's not just my mum, you said, accenting her name while giving her a playful side-eye. Spilling all of my embarrassing stories. Well, Sero said with a shy scratch to the back of his head. One time that will always haunt me was when I was using my quirk to swing out over our local lake, and when I jumped to swing, my pants got caught on a stick poking out from the tree, and it ripped my pants, and then I went flying out over the water with my bare behind showing. he admitted, which made you burst out laughing. Oh my God, that's gold, you replied, still laughing, and your mum beamed with pride and then looked at Shotoa. You seemed so happy. You all continued to chat for the next hour until Aizawa cleared his throat. Well, he said, placing his empty coffee mug down on the bench. I need to get my student home and then go to work. Oh, of course, I'm so sorry for keeping you, your mum fretted. Yes, thank you so much for bringing my baby back to me. Mum, you hissed with a little embarrassment. She really was doing too much. Of course, Aizawa said with a nod, and Sero beamed at you. Let me see you off, your mum said, following Aizawa and Sero to the front door. Oh, this is for you, Yin, Aizawa said, as he stopped at the front door and pulled the same folder out from inside his coat as what he had shown you in the hospital. Take some time to read this over. You nodded and took the folder and then looked at Sero, who smiled at you and then sat down and put his shoes on. You watched sadly as he put his shoes on and then left with Aizawa, your eyes lingering on each other's as the two guys walked out to the car together, got in and then left. I washed your favourite jumper, your mum said when you were silent for a while. The one that Sero gave you? It's folded on your bed. It's a welcome home gift, she added. You turned to her and hugged her, still clutching the folder in one hand. I love you, Mum, you said softly into her, and you felt her grip on you tighten. You could tell she was emotional now, but you didn't want to see her face. You just wanted to retreat now that Sero wasn't there, and so after a long hug, you paused, pulled back, and made an excuse to go to your room and took off, folder still in hand and keenness in your being, to read it. Your father watched you go and paused for a second, but his mind had been going over what he should do, and he knew that now would be the best time to talk to you, now that everything had gone quiet, and so he turned and started following you up the stairs, about 5 paces behind you. As soon as you got to your room, you closed your door and jumped onto your bed, grabbing for Sero's jumper and smiling as you put it on immediately. Stupid jumper. I love it so much, it's so comfy, you thought, as you lay the folder out on the bed in front of you and then opened the first page. Just then there was a knock on your door and you looked up. Yin, it's me, your dad said from the other side. I'm here to apologise and to tell you something. Can we please talk? Something in his voice sounded different, so you got up and opened the door to him. Yeah? You asked. Here it comes, chapter 39 tomorrow. I'll see you then.